And where's Jerry at? Jerry, we were talking about doing this next year, so looking for that partnership. Unfortunately, I won't be here, but talking to the powers that be here, that'll be here, we're looking to do this again, and even more people. And I can see some of the students sitting in the back, so I'll be walking around making sure everybody's engaged. So again, just formally, I'm Tony Trungone, Superintendent, Millville Public Schools. And I have some slides for you, and it's not going to be your typical agenda with bullets as far as what we're doing to try to promote something. It's actually explaining the reality. We're explaining the reality and where we were and where we're going. Also, I didn't put up here that we also are in the midst of a strategic plan. And so when I first arrived here, most new superintendents will start with a vision, but then, and mission statement, but then what happens underneath if there's processes in place to facilitate that vision and mission. So we did it acting the opposite. So we put in a lot of processes and procedures to make sure that we build a foundation. And then the next step now, the board is in the midst of, and I see, we recognize Debbie Malone, I see Mr. Wilden, and Jeff, and where's Jeff? Jeff, right behind you. They're in the midst of a strategic plan. And so the underneath processes are there, but now we have to have a bigger picture moving forward because it's where we want to be in 3 years in Millville. So it's pretty exciting stuff, and our president, Kim Carty, will be demonstrating with the progress in the next upcoming board meetings in our strategic plan. So welcome, and again, I want to thank the culinary arts folks, Christine Brannon, Grace Blandino, and then Stephanie DeRose had a lot to do with the planning. She couldn't be here, she had a family obligation. Also Mrs. Sutton, the principal, and also Meg Finney. And also, where's she at? Let's see, where's Margaret Kiefer? Okay, Margaret, and Mr. Bird, so thank you for the setup. So the first is mental health, and it's the relationship between those three entities. It's the Cumberland County Prosecutor's Office, Millville Police, and the school district, because we are one. So some of the things I'm going to talk about today, maybe with school funding and budget, aren't going to be the prettiest, even some of the scores. But with mental health, they're all our kids. And so when I look at programs, this is a pretty outstanding program that our police department is working with the prosecutor's office and our school district, and it's called Handle with Care. And so these are events, and again, I went over this with Jerry, they're traumatic events that happen at the home, not at school. And the police are there. But oftentimes the school doesn't even know about the next day. These kids have experienced a traumatic event. And so we're bridging that gap. And we have a program now that sends information to our school counselors and support team. Steve Matus, did he leave? Is he here? Oh, okay. But also at Mr. Mazzoni, Dr. Mazzoni's here. He heads the guidance along with Stephanie DeRose. Those kids get to meet those people to receive them the next day because they're not ready to learn. But we don't know that. So, a little picture of the brain, and in the middle of the brain is the amygdala. That's like your survival mode, your flight or fight in your brain. It helps you control your emotions. And then behind your forehead is the prefrontal cortex. That's what gives you executive function. That's your reasoning. But when those kids experience that traumatic event, they flip their lid. And so we don't want to call the kid out, but we might come in and go, we let them know this kid's not ready to learn. Because oftentimes you've seen it in schools where somebody's acting out, and they're acting out for a reason, and then we compound their behavior by pushing them rather than receiving them and trying to find out what the real issue is. Oh, there it is there, the hand, that's the hand right there, okay? Flip your lid. And so I added this slide, Jerry, because Jerry was like, well, tell me what happens at the house that they have to let the school know. Like if it's a policeman that comes in just for whatever, it's something that's pretty challenging event. So I have them listed there, like someone was arrested, there's a drug or alcohol abuse, there's a suicide, house fire, forced displacement. These are the items. This is under law, by the way. This is a law now that we have that interaction. And you can see that, or a sudden death in the immediate family. And so wait till you see the numbers of these traumatic events. Now the software that we use, they call it an impact. So Millville Public Schools from August 1st till Tuesday, when I had this created, had 618 impacts with our students at their home or their residence, okay? And it affected 466 students. And you can see this is how it's all laid out with the data. And so you can see the most frequent was at the high school with about 190, and it goes all the way to Mount Pleasant, which is about 10. But that we can mine it. I don't want to use the internet just because I wanted to flow through this presentation, but you can mouse over that in our program. It breaks it down by grade level. But when we look at the proportionality of it all, we can see that Silver Run has a third of the high school. So when you look at Silver Run on the far left, 10% of the students at Silver Run have experienced some type of traumatic event or an impact. And you can see over the far right, Mount Pleasant Elementary. So this is what's happening with education today. So we'll talk about math, reading, writing, but this is where we're at in education. We're dealing with this. The frequency and the magnitude is getting faster, and deeper. So this is Millville, and these are the events as they happened over the course from August till yesterday or Tuesday. And so you can see that last month was a pretty busy month for our police with our students. And talking to Jamie Sutton, we were talking about behavior. So we also have behavior in the schools to see, okay, is this mirroring this behavior with the behavior outside of school? And that's another type of analysis to see how the community is affected, and the school affects the community, and the community affects the school. This is troubling. So out of all those cases, about 360 students had one traumatic event. But when you look at the far right, we have 4 students, 2 in one family, that had 8 in their home with some type of traumatic event with police in their home. 8 events, 4 students district-wide, 2 in one family. So that helps us provide where our supports need to be, so frequency, location, what school, brothers, the family, so we can dig down and make sure we're given the appropriate support and work surgically, okay? And so this is like a granular piece. We get emails, I get the emails, but our support folks get the emails. And you can see that on 4/30, we had a student at Silver Run. It's incident 69038. And then Arlene Mangincalda was the one that and then we can see if we had an adult in our school meet that kid. Because some of the events, they hadn't seen the kid yet. So we can look at it and say, have you talked to that student? Because now, be careful what you ask for. Now we're getting the information. Are we going to meet with the kid and see what supports they need? And so you can see these folks have been there on top of things at different schools and making sure we're meeting the kids where they're at. Any questions on that? Because I'm done that piece. And I'm going to go off of one other mental health issue. We have a screening tool called the BIMAS, and that we screen from K to 12. Voluntary, not mandatory. We had about half the students, Jamie, at the high school, and that was back in the fall. So there's about 600-700 kids took it. 84 were in like a higher tier, like one would be, for lack of a better term, normal. 2 need some support, 3 were severe. It was a severe case. And then our support team assesses. They use the Columbia assessment to see how deep this problem is, and they assessed it. And on that day, 7 kids had to go to crisis. So we didn't even know about. And they weren't your typical cases. There was 1 boy, 6 girls, no behavior issues. The boy had behavior issues, so that's what I do. I look at it and I go, let's look at the profile. But then we have to get those kids help. Out of the 84 kids that were tested at the high school that scored a 2 or a 3, only 20% of them were in our system getting support. The other 80%, so if there's over 80, there's like 64, were not getting the support. So it was really good. I felt like sometimes you're looking for trouble, but this was good trouble. And so we're really proud of the work that our team is doing, and we have Danielle Pulley's done a great job, and also Wendy McKenzie, because this is on top of what we experienced when we were in school. Okay? Now student achievement. And you can see student achievement just isn't academics, it's also character development, it's social-emotional learning, and also co-curricular. So, we all know we're blessed. We have a good football team, we have a good sports program, we have a state championship band, we have a great fine and performing arts, and also all the clubs. I've been to other districts. Millville is second to none with providing our kids with clubs and activities after school, so they're involved. And then also I want to mention our physics, because Mr. Grumman took our team to TCNJ, which is formerly Trenton State, and they went against the Chathams, all the highfalutin high schools in the state, and his team won it. They had to build a windmill, and over 30 seconds, how much energy could they generate? And they generated 17.1 joules, and second place was like 10 joules. And so we got to celebrate those kids. So we're talking about the CTE program, you just witnessed that, but also the academic, and you can see that the STEM, that our program was #1 in that contest, #1. So kudos to them. And now, look at the past, because everybody looks at social media. And this is an analysis I did over a period of time. So it's 4th grade language arts, and it's like the Billy Joel song, that the good old days weren't, so good, and tomorrow's not bad as it seemed. Well, that's Millville, because you look and see Cumberland County, that's the red, and all those lines above it are the 20 other counties. And that's what we scored in Cumberland County in the language arts assessments from 2008 to 2019. So you can see there's a significant gap. And then I broke it down further and looked at Violin, Millville, Bridgeton, and you can see Violin performing a little, the first line is a state average, and then you have Violin, Millville, and Bridgeton, and you can see Millville in language arts was about 25% proficient in the state assessments before COVID. And then this is the math. Math with same trend, a little lower, and you can see Cumberland County about almost 20% lower than the state average over time. And then breaking it down again, Millville, Violin, Bridgeton, the big 3, and seeing how they performed, and you can see we were hovering about 20% proficient in math. Okay? Over, like the first ones, they were easier tests. They weren't called the NJSLA or PARC. It was called the NJ Ask. And what happened, we had to raise the cut score, made it more rigorous. And that's why you saw a drop back in 2015. Same thing holds true for language arts, but not as drastic as the math. The whole state dropped in that 1 year. And so I'm going to turn over to what we're doing now, because we're doing some great things, but people don't compare the past to what we're doing now. And Dr. Mazzoni and Cheryl Banks and our teachers are working very, very hard. And I won't go into all the features of it, but we're progress monitoring and providing the support in tiers for our kids that are not reading on grade level. No one can argue with that. So when I look at from October to this past week, October to April, you can see that our kindergarten students in October were about 41.7% were on grade level, and now we're up to 77.5. Good. First grade, 27.8, we doubled it to 55.1, reading on grade level. Again, we're doing a lot more with the kids that are not on grade level, but this for this group, just to see what the proficiency is. And when we look at reading for second grade, not as great. So Dr. Mazzoni I think he looks at second grade and fourth grade all the time. Where are we putting our resources? Again, just like the mental health, we want to put our resources where we think we're not making our progress. And you can see we're making pretty good progress in third grade, 21% to 56%, and then 19.6% to 46%. And then fifth grade, 17.9% to 37.5%. So overall, I'm sorry, Matt, where did we start out this year, 18%?
No, we started at 26%.
We were at 26%?
And that included K-12.
And then where are we at now?
52%.
So we doubled kids reading on grade level from when the start of the school year till now. Now, we spent a lot of money on our reading program, almost as much as the football stadium. So, this is math, and Bobby Barber and I are math geeks. And so when we look at it, we do a correlation to see, so we don't teach to the test, we teach a curriculum. And we want to see how well the kids are doing our curriculum relative to how they're doing on the state test. We're not depending on anybody else. We're doing our own analysis. So last year, Bobby's goal was how many kids were scoring 70% or better on our assessments. And we found out that their scores were about 738, which is not passing on the state test. Okay? So this year, it gets partially proficient. This year, we raised the benchmark to 80%. So now when we're monitoring progress, we look at how many kids are scoring at 80% or better, and it's much more granular as far as the support. We have tiered support. This is a higher level number. But if they're scoring 80%, they'll score a 750, which is passing. So explaining that to you, this is last year, and then with those performance on our assessments, this is what we think is going to happen in grades 3, 4, and 5. We'll see a pretty significant progress in fourth and fifth grade, but overall, we're going to see, and then when I remember that before where the math scores were 22%, so we're seeing 30%. I'm not happy with it. I'm sure you're not happy with it, but we're on the road. We're on the road. Debbie Malone said, you know what, Tony, we're on the road. We're on the road. And that's what we want to do. We want to have the state average. We'll beat the state average. And this is pleasant news. It's preliminary, but we did get back our New Jersey graduation proficiency assessment scores back. And they're for 11th graders. And so it's language arts and math. And look at the dark blue is the language arts. So coming out of COVID, only 10% of our kids passed this test for a diploma. And now we're at 64.3. So great job, our language department at the high school. And then the math, you can see, made progress. But again, this is an 11th grade test, and our efforts right now have been on 8th and 9th and 10th grade students, and we're building our way up. So we also spent a great deal of money and time on math. Okay? So we're really proud of that. So we're seeing progress. And then, when you look at the language arts, then, it's like I'm a coach. I'm like, yeah, we did good, but we're not there yet. We got to work harder. And so when you see that the state average is 80.5 last year, that's where we want to be in language arts. we got to be at the state average. And then with math, the state average was 55%. Because people think it's 90% passing. It's a very difficult test. And so we want to be at 55%. So Mr. Rose and then Henry Hartman are working diligently with the math department. So you're going to see those results, I think, in the summer, as far as you're going to see significant increases in the Algebra 1 assessment. Now for school funding, okay? This is our state aid, and you can see that we get about $81 million from the state. And then the state says, well, it should take $101 million to educate the kids in Millville, formulaically. But there's a $14 million gap locally, and there is no inkling from the board to raise taxes to that amount. None, zero, because locally the contribution is $16 million down the bottom, but the formula has it at $30 million. But when we see we need things, or there's things that come up like costs in transportation, health insurance, whatever, we have to go above that to keep this progress that you see that I'm showing you, okay? So, and then the bigger issue is, I am retiring, but I'll be working with some lobby groups to get Millville more money. Because Millville, this is the Ed Law Center, this is the law firm that put Millville in a place where they get more state aid than other school districts. 30-year law case. And so I'm working hand in hand with them. So I have the link, I can give this, but that link up there gives you the link to their research. And we're underfunded by $6 million for special ed. $6 million. And here's why. We have 4,500 kids. There's 45, 43, but I'm just going to make it 4,500. And if you look at that, the state says, we will only give you funding for 15.9% of your total population. And so they give us money for 716 students, even though we have 1,035 special ed students. I just put District X, but they have 4,500 students. So they get 716, they get funding for 716 students. But they're only 7% special ed. Yes, so it's a flaw in the funding formula, and it's got to be fixed. It's got to be fixed. So when you look at it, we're at a $6 million deficit. It's because District X is getting our $6 million. So we got to lobby to put that wrinkle in the school funding formula to get Millville what's due to them. And right now, the formula says every district gets 15.9%, when some districts have less than that, and we have more. So, everybody get that? That's huge. $6 million with all the things that we're dealing with in schools today, it would help us out immensely. And now for the not so great thing. So I will say that the mayor's here. I want to say I feel really good of your leadership. I think that you're a young guy, if I may say so, but I will bow down to you as far as your love for Millville. But and then I think there's going to be good things coming, Mayor. But that being said, we have to look at where the taxes are coming from, your taxes. And so when you look at a typically assessed house, if the taxes went down about $4 on a typically assessed house, but if you add the trash fees, it went up about 13.6% from 2022 to 2025. And then taxes did go up in schools from $1,244 to $1,377 for a typically assessed house. And then the county, over those 3 years, we're at a 0.5% increase. But please know that almost every municipality, except for Violin and Bridgeton, they're similar to us, but school taxes are about 50% of your tax bill usually. Usually the biggest tax comes from schools, and we're not in that boat. We're not in that boat. We're $14 million less than what we should be spending, and we're providing all these resources to our kids and activities, and I don't like it. I'm leaving in 2 months, but it doesn't matter. The school should not take hits when we are being frugal, and we're meeting the needs of the kids, but also being conscious of the taxpayer. And so, then when you look at that, that's a typically assessed house, and when you look at your house, for a typically assessed house, you would pay $1,731 for the city, $1,377 for the school, and $1,777 for the county. Okay? What else am I doing? I'm involved, I'm not a D or an R, but I'm working with the Republican Assembly on a new bill that would lower real estate taxes, but fully fund schools. Because right now they base school funding on your district income and the property value. But my example is, if my house is $200,000 and it went up to $400,000, but my salary didn't go up 100%, but the way the funding formula works, it's saying that you should pay out of pocket for the value of your house increasing. So Ross Dammer and Assemblyman DeMaio have put a bill out that based it solely on district income. And in that district income, your salary should only be 5% for schools. It shouldn't be 15, 20% in your taxes. They came up with 5%. Millville would get $5 million more in this new plan. The only thing is we have to work with the governor and the Democratic Assembly and Senate to push a bill through. So it doesn't matter as far as what it theoretically costs, it's the revenue. You're changing what the revenue is going to be. Instead of being on the burden on the local taxpayer on real estate taxes, it's going to be on the state. Now, the local taxes will be 5% of your income, but you don't have to worry about exorbitant tax increases if they put this into effect. And so, again, there's a link there, and I'll share this. We have to support that. Millville gets benefited, but most of all New Jersey senior citizens, they'll benefit because it'll stabilize real estate taxes in New Jersey. Whether you're a Democrat or Republican, everybody knows that we're paying too much in real estate taxes. And your taxes would go down, too, after the first year, but putting this bill in. So, and that's all I had for you. And I guess I want to close with, you're going to go through the tour of the school, and if you haven't been here, you're going to be amazed. Some great things that our kids get to partake in now. And everybody always says, I wish it was like this when I was in school. The culinary arts, the dance studio, the gym, the weight room, and the allied nurse, the allied health rooms. It is truly an outstanding facility. This auditorium, our kids deserve it. You know, so we have this going on, we have Wheaton Field going on, we have projects at Holly Heights going on this summer to improve their HVAC and ventilation programs, heating and air conditioning. We just finished Silver Run. And also, we have 2 more security vestibules that we're putting in, one at Rick Avenue and one at Bacon Elementary School. And so there's a lot of good things happening. As the board said, we're making a lot of progress, and we're going to try to keep that energy going. Keep it going, and we need your support and understanding. And if you have any questions, Rich Davidson's here, our BA. If there's anything as far as going on that, Dr. Mazzoni is here, our assistant superintendent. Again, Stephanie's not here, but if you have any questions, I'm here until July 1st, but I will be fighting for Millville even after July 1st, because again, it's a place I'll call home. So I want to thank you all for coming out. Hope you enjoyed the food. And I guess, Jamie, you want to start with leading the tour? I'll hand it off to you.
Those of you that would like to go on tour, we're going to split you in 2 groups. One of you will go with Zach Marcel, who was one of our vice principals at the high school, and the other group will go with Kristen McManus, who was another one of our vice principals at the high school. So is anybody not going on the tour? Is everybody doing the tour? Okay, so if you're not going on the tour, the easiest way for you to leave the building is right directly through those blue doors that say exit. That'll take you right out, almost to across where your car is. So it's not a long walk all the way back through the building, so you can exit through those doors. If you are doing the tour, you can come this way and we'll break you into groups and send you with Zach and Kristen.
True.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, everybody.
Allen Associates is a family-owned and operated full-service agency, managing a broad base of clients in the New Jersey area. Allen Associates has been a leader in health benefits and financial services including health, prescription, life insurance, pension, 401k plans and estate planning. With more than 60 years of experience and a staff of highly trained and dedicated professionals, Allen Associates is noted for its ability to build strong, long-term relationships with our clients and the communities we serve. Give them a call today at 856-692-2250. Allen Associates, your complete health and financial services, Vineland, New Jersey.
This has been a QBC television production, in association with our partners and sponsors. QBC broadcasts on Comcast Cable Channel 22, and live streams its programming on Facebook and YouTube. All rights reserved by Quinn Media and QBC, programming that serves the South Jersey market.